Welcome to the.
But
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Sleepless in Cambarroch. We have a wonderful guest on today. It was the first guest that I chose to be on. It's our second guest, and her name is Eliza. She's from the US, and Eliza has a fascinating story where she has jogged every single day for 19 years. Yes, every single day for 19 years. It's truly incredible. And we're going to get into it, why she does it, how it started. So yeah, Eliza, can you just elaborate on yourself and just tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, what do you do, and what has made you run every day for 19 years?
Mhm. Yep. So hi, thanks for having me on here. My name's Eliza. Some call me Za, and that's right. I've been running every single day. Haven't missed a day in over 19 years. I live here in the US in the Midwest. So, running through all sorts of weather, all seasons. I'm a mom of two boys, ages 4 and 6. We got two rescue dogs here. They're actually from India, and they're, living with us. And let's see. Besides, running is just kind of a small part of my day, but it's also become a larger part of my day as far as being able to, share a bit more about my run streak, kind of help coach other people, whether it's with running. Yoga is also a big part of my life as far as, teaching yoga. And, I've studied that for over a decade and spent some time in India learning yoga as well. And that's why, at a certain time I'll tell you when it was, about 2010, which was 8 years into the run streak. That's when I found yoga, and I kind of understood with the yoga philosophy. It kind of made a lot more sense about this run streak or this daily run. So there's this underlying philosophy about a run streak that, I love sharing with people, because it's not about getting out there every day, pounding the pavement, achieving goals, running faster. The competition, competition can create a lot of positive benefits. It's good to push ourselves, but, it can also lead to discouragement and burnout. So, I like to talk about the run streak being a daily habit, sometime every day you take out for yourself, do your run, inside, outside. But it's just that time you can take to connect with yourself, get through, life's not easy, get through, the obstacles or situations, clear your head, make some headspace, and hopefully come back and react better or make a better decision. Or so, yeah, throughout the 19 years, it's not like it's been a smooth sailing every day I walk in the park. So, life presents itself with many different obstacles and situations. And it's just a matter of, okay, how do you confront these situations? Do you confront it head on? Do you try to have your tail between the legs and run away? So I think, for the running every day, it has allowed me to kind of more confront maybe difficult situations a little better and more, with more courage and bravery.
Great, Sal. So it's almost like running has become this kind of anchor for you in life when, when things go bad, no matter what has come up in your life, whether it's troubles, whatever, in family relationships, all the troubles that human beings experience, running has been your anchor. No matter what, you go out there and you run.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's a great anchor, especially for mental health. Even from my experience, I became a runner, and
Mm-hmm.
I have a deep, really, really, really bad anxiety disorder, as you know from my page, Panic the Paris. All that started from running, Eliza.
Mm-hmm.
And how powerful that could be. And I was consistent with it, but I think I got to 66 days in a row before. And when I, as I progressed, it was just incredible. I literally couldn't believe it. And still to this day, I can't believe what impact that had on my mind. People are struggling with mental health disorders, especially with anxiety and stuff like that. I wouldn't put anxiety in the mental health bracket as severe as bipolar and stuff like that, and borderline personality disorder, severe depression. Those are really tough mental health conditions compared to anxiety. Every human being will experience anxiety to some form or another.
Mhm.
And me, it just got out of hand. It was controlled every day of my life. But I don't consider anxiety as a mental health disorder. I think even if it impacts your life, you can still get over it in, therapeutical ways of, even like yoga, meditation, breath work, jogging, all sorts of things. And jogging for me was just incredible. I just can't believe how it like basically turned into like some sort of psychological switch over of all these fear chemicals that were going through my mind. I just with the jogging, I just literally just felt like I had to run as high so many times. It just was like a psychological switch over. It was incredible. But
When you're running, is there a specific mindset you're trying to get into? Are you like listen to a podcast, listen to a music, listen to something to go away, or are you trying to spend that time with yourself and your own thoughts?
Yeah, that's a good question because early on, I believe it was maybe 2 or 3 months in to running every day. This was circa 2002. I tried to listen to music and it was just like, ugh, like this is so annoying and distracting. And so from then on, I just decided, if I want to listen to music, I'll, listen to it while I'm driving or some other time. I think running for me is that time just to focus on the breath. And, sometimes like when we're so busy throughout the day, it's like, I go out and run. I'm like, I feel like, oh, I need to be doing something. It's like the mind is always like reaching to do something, but then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, and I think that's where, the anxiety, the mental health comes into play because, we have to learn that we're in control of our mind. Our mind doesn't control us. So having some sort of practice that allows us to experience that every day where we're out, no distractions. If it helps for you to motivate yourself and listen to music while you're running, that's great. But I think there's also should be that time of day where there's literally nothing else that you're doing. I mean, running is such a monotonous thing. There's nothing else that you're doing besides breathing and moving, or even like, seated meditation, breathing. There's so much in yogic texts that explain the benefits of being able to learn how to focus on the breath, and from that comes other higher states of meditation. So, that's why I don't really like running with other people. I mean, it's a good social thing, but, it's that time of day where I like to just kind of connect with my thoughts and, and also like, I run outside every day, and just being able to brave the elements and experience nature and, another run streakers. Always this sense of gratitude that we have when you make that commitment to get out every day. And, sometimes on the worst days, of course the mind is like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? This is so uncomfortable. But, we grow the most from discomfort. So when we're out there in horrible conditions, it's like the mind makes us think like, oh, we're just going to do a quick mile and come back where it's warm and go back under the covers. But then all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is actually not bad, like maybe a snowy day or whatever. And like today it was pouring down rain and it was actually like, a great run, just being able to be outside and appreciate life and nature. So is that how, Glenn, when you were running, how did you run like those first 66 days? Did you listen to music or what would that look like?
Exactly what happened to you, Eliza. I started off with the music and trying to pump myself up, and at the start I was very like unfit. Started off being just unable to jog 1K from the first day to then at the end of 66 days, I went and done the Dublin half marathon, 22K. So eventually then I built my distances up, 1K, then like challenging myself to get a couple of 5Ks under my belt. So I started off like that, and I started off with me listening to music all the time, constantly having the earphones in, blocking everything out. And I just noticed then, like one of the days, actually, I remember that my headphones went dead. I was listening to like a podcast that helps me through the panic attack, and it would calm me down. And when that went dead, I freaked out. And I was like, oh, I can't believe this went dead. But then after then, I found it so much better just to run with just nothing. I was forced into that. And then the next day, then when I realized that, like, I felt extra anxious when that went dead. I knew that, like, that was a safety behavior. Let's put these aside from now on. I don't need that. I'm just going to jog. And after that, then it was so much better. You notice so much. Like I jog past Lee knows this around Dublin. We live very close to the coast, right near the sea, and it's beautiful. A big long stretch of road. And when I was running with my earphones in, I'd never like look to the right and see how beautiful it is. But we just focused on the music and going, and without the earphones, then you're focused on everything around you. Joggers going past, smiling, saying hello and stuff like that. You can actually hear them then. It's fantastic. So yeah, no more earphones for me. Although sometimes now it's the odd time I bring them if I'm doing a short run or something, if I want to listen to a little podcast. But other than that, never.
The weather thing for me is an interesting one as well. Like when I used to run years ago, I nearly got into a mindset where if I seen bad weather, I had to run. If I would have probably ran maybe 2, 3, 4, maybe sometimes even 7 times a week. But if there was a week where I wasn't doing it and I looked out and it was lashing raining, I would purposely go and run in that rain because I remember someone saying to me years ago, when you're running in that rain or you're putting the effort in to go and run and train and that, nobody else is doing it. So I used to always go out and I'd be like, there's no one else on the road here. I'm the only one working. And it kind of built up like a mental toughness around running and just mental health as well. Like, so I just always go out as soon as I see bad weather. I'd be like, I'm out straight away. Like,
yeah, you told me that before. It's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you translate that into, life situations, where you're confronted with something difficult in life, and in your training, it's like, you see bad weather, do you turn away and run, or, you're training yourself to fight against it and know, okay, this is, I'm okay in discomfort. So, the same thing in life, being able to face it head on and not have to run away. So I think that's, a big part of, you kind of took the opposite effect that most people do. Most people run when it's nice and stay home when it's, bad weather. So, and like running every day, I run in the good days and the bad days. But I think that's, the importance of understanding about a run streak is, we don't go out to have a good or a bad run. It's not like I come back and, oh, that was a good run, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. It's like, it's not something we can evaluate every day. It's like, it's just like a practice in this life that we're able to connect with ourselves, and it doesn't have to be good or bad. We don't have to, because the mind loves to label things good or bad, black or white. It's, why can't we just have, oh, that was a run, Yeah.
Is there a minimum distance that you have to run? Like to keep the streak up, do you have to run a certain distance, or would you run, what would be like the shortest distance you'd run and what would be the longest distance you'd run?
Yeah. So it was actually early 2000s. At that time, it was the United States Run Streak Association was founded. So basically, they define a run streak as running, and I emphasize running. If you want to look up the definition of running, basically, obviously not walking. You have 1 foot on the ground. It's not like, walking. You always have 2 feet on the ground. If you look at the speed walking rules. So I just have to, the definition of running is important because somebody, asked me, well, cross country skiing should count as part of a run streak. I mean, that's completely different. So a run every calendar day. So also calendar day, meaning, like today's October 5th, you have till midnight to do your run. And minimum of 1 mile, and that can be inside, outside, treadmill, wherever. So, you could do it literally at 1 mile every day and for at least a year. And then, once you have a year, that's like a run streak. So for me, I've never done just 1 mile. And I just found some notes like, this was, the first 5 years of my run streak, my average run was like 6.5 miles. And now, 19 years, I just kind of somewhat recently configured the average is about 4.5 miles. So like the second decade of my run streak was like less mileage. The first decade was more competition, marathons, lots of mileage. But now so it's like definitely kind of the mileage has fluctuated over the years. So the lowest amount that I ran consistently was like 2 miles. That was from the year like 2014 to maybe 2019, actually. So that's almost like 5 years of kind of consistent 2 miles, sometimes 3 miles. And that was, you know, being pregnant and, you know, newborn stages and all that. But currently, I know this is a long-winded answer. Currently, I've basically since, I guess it's over a year now, I've been running 3 miles every day and reaching like 100 miles for the month, just because, I don't know, like you can make up your own goals. And, you know, if you want to do just a mile a day, I know there's people that run, you know, 5 miles every day, but I just really enjoy like the 3 mile distance. It's like, you know, almost 30 minutes. It allows me to still enjoy running and not feel like I'm just kind of cramming it in, and still, you know, some days I run 5 miles, but not like any more like marathon training like I did back in the day. So.
Great, Eliza. And when you touched on that about running during pregnancy, that's something. The question's not coming up yet. It's the third or fourth question, so it's going to be very, very interesting. I'm really excited to hear about that, and I'm sure a lot of people, and especially women, are going to be very interested to hear your story about running during pregnancy. So the next question I'm going to ask you is like, what your background, what made you run? Was there a reason you ran every day for 19 years? What started it for you?
Yeah, so let's see where to begin. So I was 16 at the time where I started running. Before that, you know, I literally hated running. You know, I mean, I'm sure there's so many people out there that just say, "Oh, I hate running." Like, you know, let me exit this podcast right now. They're talking about running. Like, how can I relate to that? But it's obviously more about running, like we kind of began with. But I used to just kind of hate running. My mom would try to pay me to run, and I still wouldn't do it. And basically in high school, I mean, it literally just like one spring morning, I just got up and decided to run. And I'm like, wow, that was great. And, you know, ran the next day, and, you know, took a few days off, ran again. And then I kind of thought like, well, like, why don't I join the cross country team? Or, you know, it was just kind of this random thought that kind of popped in my head. I mean, like, nobody ran on cross country, like at my school. You know, it was like a very small private school, and it was cool to do soccer. And I'm like, I'm not going to waste my time sitting on the bench during soccer games again, like maybe running something I can actually participate in and get better at. So I joined that cross country team. I was the only girl on the team. There was maybe a few other guys. And yeah, the coach at that time, our plan, like when he scheduled our runs, we ran 7 days a week. You know, on Friday we ran like 20 minutes, like as our rest day, and Saturday we had a meet, and then Sunday we were, it was kind of optional, I guess. Like, you know, like we didn't meet for practice on Sundays, but he's like, well, you know, run on your own this many minutes. And I guess I've always been somebody, you know, if I respect somebody, I kind of like follow their directions, and I've always followed plans to a T. So after like 6 weeks of the cross country season, I've always wrote things down. I look back, I'm like, oh, I haven't missed a day of running over a month. Like, when at that point, I decided to commit to running every single day for the next cross country year, at my senior year, just to be like, well, I want to see how much better I can get at running. That's why I think goal setting is very important, especially when you're first starting out. Like, even just maybe a goal to be able to run a full mile, and just kind of having these little stepping stones to maybe a bigger goal. So it's that keeps us motivated of creating these goals for ourselves. I mean, it's not like a coach has to make these up for you. It's a way, you know, just make up whatever like makes you feel excited. So I just wanted to see how much better I could get the next season, and ran every day for the next season. And the next year I recruited like some of my friends off the soccer team, and we had a full girls team for the first time ever. And then I eventually helped start the track team, which was, the athletic director, kind of frowned upon because they didn't want to take away from other, sports, and they just built like a track. And so it's like, I just it kind of happened organically, like I'm just going to commit for a year. And after a year, I'm like, well, why would I stop running now? And I just kind of had this, or was building this passion and this love for running throughout that whole year. And once again, it wasn't about the goals really. It was just being able to get outside and run every day and enjoy it and know that it's, good for me. I was feeling better and, mentally and physically. And just a side story to that. So my dad, when I first started running every day, my dad and, other people would tell me like, oh, that's, it's bad for you to run every day. You need a rest day. And, my dad came from competitive baseball, and, his training was, you take a rest day or a few rest days a week. You can't go hard all the time. So he told me to, take a rest. He told me to stop running on our country roads because, I'm going to get kidnapped, kind of just like all this fearful stuff. And I, kept running anyway, a little slightly rebellious, that slightly rebellious never hurts anybody. But then it was almost 2 or 3 years. I was into my run streak. My dad started to run every day. And so he said, he noticed a lot of positive benefits for me, even as a teenager. And he's like, well, what is this run every day thing? And so now he just celebrated 16 years this past summer, and he does like 1 mile a day, and he's still going strong. So yeah, I think, the big thing, it's not like my dad noticed like, oh, Eliza's out there winning races. And, I was never like fast. I mean, I definitely improved my time, but he noticed more, this positivity that was generating from my daily run. And that's kind of like what inspired him the most. So I think, even sharing my story, like I said before, it's, maybe you'll accomplish some goals, but, it's definitely like a positive commitment that is what keeps you going. So yeah, I've definitely over the years, there's been potential excuses to stop, like giving birth or being injured or all sorts of like crazy stories, that we'll get into, but it's like, yeah, we all have a choice. It's like, I'm not going to let something stand in my way. I'm going to get in my run.
Before we go to the questions of where the crazy stories were at, you said there a minute ago that you just always wrote things down. Was there a reason for that? When did you just start like writing things down, what you were doing or how you felt or what was going on? When did you start doing that, and why did you start doing that?
Yeah, well, when was like, I don't know, maybe like 5th grade. I used to like every single day, once again, another streak. I had like a journal streak where I just write down what happened that day. And, like, I don't know, like 11, so-and-so talked to me today. I wore this, whatever. And so maybe, from that, I was just used to writing things down every day. So I guess I don't know why, but I still log my miles and time and everything. So like when I kind of created the spreadsheet, I never wanted to put an X, like I wanted to just write everything out day by day. So it's like, oh, great. Like, I'm not going to just, what do I do? Do I just like cross it out? I need to put something there.
Have you found like much benefits to writing things down? Because I know this is kind of a big practice. Like journaling has become really big with people that are, seeking mental health help from therapists and stuff like that. One of the first things that people are kind of told to do is to write stuff down in a journal so they can kind of pay or kind of bring their awareness to their issues or to what the emotions and the feelings that come over, and then realize why they came and how to overcome them. Have you found any benefits to your journaling in other areas of your life?
Yeah, I like my journaling practice, I guess, is I kind of make lists, like for me, like, I guess that's therapeutic, or, like a lot of times we have like stuff in our mind, it's like, okay, I have to do this, like we just kind of repeat that in our mind, and just writing it out like, whether or not it gets checked off, like for me, I just like to create lists. That helps me just kind of get everything out there. But yeah, as far as, nowadays people have the apps or whatever on the phone. So I think there is that lost art of like logging, handwriting, your miles, if, other streak runners I've talked to that started their run streaks like in the 70s, 80s, they have journals and like, piles of books of, them writing out and logging. So it's like also the run streak community is very, for the most part, like, okay, you definitely could call us obsessive, but being able to, I feel like over 90% of the streak runners I've talked to, there's definitely some sort of practice of logging our runs, and it's some people kind of get more obsessed with the numbers, the miles or the minutes. But I think it's just the habit in itself of kind of like accomplishing something and writing it down. It just kind of like closes the door, and then you can like move on. But I think, the apps out there, it logs it for you, but I don't think it's kind of the same thing.
I was just gonna say, thank God for Strava, but obviously it's just more. You started this way before these apps were even created, so it's just more of a, I don't know, it just feels better for you to write it down.
Yeah, just old fashioned. I don't know.
It's probably more for you as well. Like when someone has a specific goal for themselves and they're just doing it for themselves, it's probably good to write it down and to look at that, where people now with the apps probably want to share on their Instagram how many miles they ran to impress people. Like, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just kind of like, I don't really rely on technology so much. I only started using like Strava last year because I used to run with one of those cheap watches just to log the time at least. But I don't know, technology, I think, I don't think it's healthy to like rely on it too much. So I try to, if I lived out.
Sorry, Eliza. We seen yesterday with the whole blackout and stuff like that, like everyone's business was going down because of everyone was panicking, like because of the whole like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp just went gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I mean, I think it's such an unhealthy attachment to have. I mean, it's an attachment, all of a sudden your mental health, you use the state of panic, like all of a sudden we're panicked just because this completely fake world has collapsed. Like, okay, start living your own life and understand how to not rely on these other apps. Or, I mean, I know it's business, but it's, maybe it helped kind of wake people up. Like, I did my run and then I went to post it and like, oh, it's like not working. And, there was a part of me that's like, oh no, I'm going to miss a day of posting this run. I'm like,
yeah, you've done it. You don't need anyone else to know. That's
not what you got in it for.
Yeah. So I just want to touch on one more thing, and it's the most interesting thing to me, Eliza. It's and I've been following it. You're one of the first people I followed on my Instagram account when I seen it, and I've seen your running streak when I heard it was like 18 years at the time. It's just recently got 19 years. Am I correct?
Yeah, just this past September. Yeah. And
I seen some comments like you'd make your reels and they're fantastic, and then there was like one of your reels was like giving birth running after giving birth to a child, and I read some comments and some of the women were like slating you and all, that's not healthy for you and stuff like that. And I was like, what are you talking about? This is just, you don't understand the discipline. This woman has been running 10, 15 years. She's not going to break the streak. Some people just don't have it just can't fathom that. They just can't relate to it. And so just wanted to touch on that, like after giving birth to a child, what is the mindset going through that? Are you just like going through childbirth and thinking, oh, when am I going to be out to do this run? Like, what's happening? What's going through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I did actually look at my watch, so like, come on, we gotta hurry this up. But I mean, I opted for like home birth with midwife. I didn't want to. I don't really believe in hospitals. I mean, as far as like, I mean, it's fine if you do that. If you go to a hospital, great. But I wanted to kind of be more in control of the birthing thing. and not like be pushed to a C-section. I was very kind of fearful with that. Like, I just really wanted to prevent that as much as I could. And so the like labor was like 40 hours. So basically I ran Tuesday, labor started Tuesday evening. I ran Wednesday at like 4 a.m. thinking, I'd have the baby that night even. And he wasn't born till Thursday afternoon. So like, I remember I did at one point, I actually didn't really think about running the whole time, but there was at one point looking at my watch, thinking like, oh, okay, it's not going to last too much longer. I know I'll still be able to get my run in. And then, he was born at 3. So I ran at like 8 p.m. and, it wasn't a walk in the park, but, I just kind of think back to like ancient times, like these days it's like we have all the drugs and the fancy stuff, it's like, I mean, humans for thousands of years have been giving birth naturally, and, you get on with your life. So it's like, just like another thing in life, like another thing in life to run. I don't know. So, it's not like I really consulted medical advice or anything. I didn't tell the midwife. I just knew like I was going to keep the streak, and some of those comments are like, oh, all for a silly streak, and, or people saying, I ran 17 minutes, which was like over a mile. And people are like, oh my gosh, 17 minutes without holding your baby. Like, wow. But, I mean, like my mom was there. I'm like, I comment to those, like, have you ever gone to the bathroom? Like, don't you leave at some point? Like, anyway, I just wanted, like, at that time, on the streak list, all the women ahead of me, like either started running after they had kids, or maybe they don't have kids. So I was trying to reach out to somebody at least that has done it, just to at least kind of have that confidence that like, okay, it is possible, but I couldn't find anything out there. So I'm like, well, I'll just make it possible. And then I did. And since then, I've talked with other women. It's not like I tell people like, you need to run every single day. There's been quite a few women when they get to that point, like, maybe they decide like, I'm going to give it up, like, or whatever, so we all have this choice. And, I just like wanted to make it happen. And it's not like it was no big deal, but, I'm here to live, to tell my story.
Yeah, it's so unique. It's so powerful. Like, I love that stuff. I really do.
How did the actual run feel? Like, were you like extremely tired? Obviously, you were awake for like a lot of hours, and was there pain? Yeah. Was there tiredness? Like, how did the actual run feel?
It's all kind of a blur, but I do remember the next day, I woke up like, feeling, I've ran marathons before, but like my whole body was so sore. I felt like I ran 2 marathons the day before, but also, I have ran through difficult times before that. So it's like, you running out in bad weather, you learn how to run in pain or discomfort. And that's where the run streak can get a little controversial. It's like, well, if you're not helping your body, you're putting your body through more pain, what's the point of this streak, like running through injuries. And so I think it's just a personal decision. If you decide to rest, then rest, but, I want to figure out a way where I can get in my run, just because that's what I love doing. And that's my commitment.
Have you ever had an injury that like was difficult to work around? So like if you have like something that comes into flexion a lot on a run, like a calf, if you tore a calf, then trying to run on that every day, like that injury might take a lot longer to heal. Like, have you ever had any injuries that nearly stopped you or that were difficult to kind of run through?
Yeah, I've had probably most of all like the typical runner injuries. I guess kind of one of the maybe worst. Okay, I'll give you my top 3. First one, I remember I was running. It was a rainy day. I ran through this kind of park. I slipped on a rock, and I basically severely sprained my ankle. And I was only 7 minutes into the run, so I didn't even run a full mile. So I had to get up and basically start my run all over again with like a freshly sprained ankle. And it's funny because the first thought most people, the first thought in their mind is like, ouch, this really hurts. But my first thought is like, oh no, I can't run.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that took, definitely injuries take longer to heal from running on it. And, that's when people kind of shake your head if, they see you running, limping along. So yeah, sprained ankle. That was fun. And then somehow I like fractured a rib, which, that's, I don't know if that would have taken longer to heal, but, that
was from your kid kicking you when you were pregnant saying stuff.
Well, actually there was the story somehow, like I injured my back, and my yoga teacher at the time thought he could fix the back by cracking my back. And so when he cracked my back, I think he actually fractured my rib, because there was this snap, and it hurt to even breathe. So that was difficult to run through. And, and that run, I kind of felt like, when you see kind of like a halfway dying animal and you're like, well, I should just shoot it and put it out of its misery. That's kind of how I felt. And the third one, I developed IT band syndrome, which, runners are probably very familiar with IT band, but basically my IT band moved. And I think this was a result of wearing bad shoes in my first marathon. It was just too much on my body. And so my IT band, I had to hold it basically in place to run. It was so that I was limping for a good few months on that. But, there's been definitely injuries, just kind of limp through. And, but it's also those times of injuries allow me to really appreciate the run more. It's and then, those good days of running injury free, it's I'm able to appreciate and really feel more gratitude for being healthy and alive and experiencing life, because I know what it's like to limp through an injury and run.
Yeah, honestly, it's like speaking to Goggins. Yeah, so that was one of my next questions, Lee, was injury. So you picked up on that, so great. My next question was running on weather conditions. We'd already kind of answered that, but do you want to elaborate on it more? Running in the snow.
Yeah. How extreme can it get actually? Where you are, certain parts of America could have 2 foot of snow. What do you do if that happens?
Yeah. Well, to touch on the injuries thing, over the years, most of my injuries happened within the first 5 years, 5 to 8 years or so. And so over time, I've learned how to prevent injuries, because it's running through something as frustrating as running through an injury. It's okay, I do not want this to happen again. How do I prevent this? So it's really understanding that prevention, and that I think yoga really helps with that. It's running is a very small part of the day, but in order to kind of see it as a lifetime commitment, it's we need to make these other lifestyle changes to allow ourselves to be able to run longer in life, which is why I'm no longer, cranking out 80 miles a week, because, I want to be 60 years old and run, 3 to 5 miles still. So, yeah, just wanted to say that about injuries and just kind of being smart. We're not invincible, we still need to take care of ourselves in order to run. But as far as weather, I've lived in Miami in the summertime and northern Maine in the winter. So I think I've seen the extremes. And actually in 2009, I gave up the treadmill because I just, every so many years, I make things just a little bit harder for myself. So I just, treadmill is perfectly acceptable.
So you're going to have twins next.
Oh, great.
Be running with twins.
Yeah, I guess that's the story. That's another, yeah. But let's hope that's not the case. But yeah, it's, perfectly acceptable to run on the treadmill, but I just felt like there was something missing, as far as being able to go out and brave the elements. So, as far as running, and I've actually, some of my favorite runs have been I remember just last year, it was pretty much the full month of February. We just kept getting snow and snow. And the morning of snowfall, seems like the worst time to run, but it's like, it's almost like so magical. It was like so quiet. Nobody's out, not even cars. And I mean, it's annoying as far as the footing. But it's just the earth just kind of has this calmness to it when there's like a fresh snow. And, my least favorite runs are like 30 degrees and raining, that kind of feels like, icicles. I mean, especially when it's like gusting winds, not ideal. And also like ice. So last year we kept having like, the road freeze over. So there was a few times where like in my neighborhood, there was this like small section of the road that was melted. So I just kind of ran up and down. So I didn't have to like risk it running on the ice. And, like, who cares what the neighbors think, I'm just like running around for 3 miles. But I think there's always some way to get in the run. Like, I've never done this myself, but you could go to a parking garage, there's no, usually it's not icy or, the elements are a little bit easier to run in. Let's see, when I was pregnant, it was during the winter and I didn't want to risk slipping and falling. And it was more my family pressuring me, but, so I ran around this indoor pool, like many laps. There's some people that run, like just run in your house, like, if you have like a open kitchen to living room or something that connects, just like run around. My brother, we pressured him to start a run streak. We just like wanted him to do a year, my dad and I, and it was kind of like the worst year of his life because he was traveling so much. So he had to run like in this little, like small apartment, like little like circles, kept running. Like it gets to the point where you're almost like, wow, am I insane right now? But it's like sometimes you have to be creative and you can find a way to get in something silly like a run, Yeah,
brilliant. It's even when I can't get my run in and it's approaching 12 and I just come home to the apartment. We just live in it, like literally right down there. It's just a little apartment block. And I just do around 15 laps around it to clock up to 1 mile. And you're jogging around. But you get the 1 mile done eventually. So
that's then it's over.
To just get in situations. So thanks, Eliza, for touching on that. We're into the last question, then we'll just maybe do some random questions and touch on some random things. So this is going to be a good one. And I only thought about this today when I seen one of your stories. So funny stories you've encountered along the way. What strange, weird and bizarre things have happened in regards to you getting your run in? I'm sure you have a lot of stories. So can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. The one that you commented on was a picture of me running through the Paris airport. And that, there was a point in my life where I was kind of like, I don't know, nervous to fly overseas. Cause basically, so I took like 5 trips to India over the past, from like 2011 to 2016. I took like 5 extended trips to India. And so when I fly there from the US, we have like, basically I have to run in that layover. Otherwise I miss a day. So I've ran, in the London Heathrow airport. The first time I ran in the airport, I was just super nervous because I've never done it before. But as soon as the plane landed, laced up my shoes, like on the seat, and then I'm like, we get herded off the plane. I'm like, okay, is this a good place to run? And then we get on like one of those trams to another like terminal. I'm like, okay, like, so there, I don't know, if some off terminal, I'm like, well, this off terminal is going to be better like than the main one, where all like the shopping stuff is. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get in a mile. And so basically I just ran around that like walking escalator thing. So I just kind of like ran loops around. And then, soon enough, like all the people off the plane got off and, I was like empty for a while. So I'm like, well, might as well just keep running. And then, I see another plane get off and I'm like, well, we'll just keep running. So I ended up running like a 5K in like this off terminal. And I learned a very valuable lesson for running in an airport is to always pack a change of clothes, because basically I show up to customs and I'm literally drenched in sweat, and like nobody asks me, which I thought was really strange. Nobody's like, well, like, why are you sweating profusely? Like,
Well, you're nervous. Check your bags.
Yeah, it didn't make any, like, yeah, I was just on a run. But, you know, then I had to get on another flight. And then, you know, once I get to India, it's like another 3 to 5 hour, like, bus ride. So, yeah, always pack a change of clothes is what I learned. But, you know, since then I had a London Heathrow again. I think the Charles de Gaulle airport.
Where was that?
What's that?
So when I first started going to Paris, Eliza, sorry to stop you mid conversation, but I came back and I had a little bit of a French accent, and I said Charles de Gaulle.
Oh.
And this guy here was like, wait, what aircraft? It's Charles de Gaulle. Typical Irish, you know, saying it. He was like, so that's the joke whenever I go back.
He went to Paris for 2 weeks and he came back with half a French accent.
Well, that happens. Yeah, you got to integrate. Yeah, pick up. Yeah, habits. But yeah,
Charles de Gaulle all in circles, isn't it? So were you able to just run around the circles in the terminal? Was it like that when you were there?
Actually, there was 3 times I had to run there. I'm just remembering. So the first time was the one I was telling you, Glenn, where so I had a backpack. When I ran in London, I just ran with my backpack the whole time. But I think I had like a laptop in my backpack or something. So anyway, I found this random, he looked, you know, trustworthy. I was going to hide my backpack in like the bathroom, but then I'm like, oh no, like I don't want it to get confiscated. So I just found this random guy. I'm like, can you please watch my bag? Like, I'm just going to do a run real quick. So I laid my bag there and like, I ran up and down and, you know, he didn't ask any questions, but then I got my bag and, you know, thanks. And so, and then another time I was traveling back home from India with my 1-year-old, and for some reason they put my stroller on the plane already. So, I basically used a airplane stroller and ran, you know, like 2 miles in the airport, just up and down. And it's always funny. You know, I recommend people out there to try running in an airport, because if you see somebody running, you think, oh, they're going to just, you know, they're probably just catching their flight. But then you see them again going the other way, and you see them again going the other way. And then so the big piece of advice is like, just don't look anybody in the eye. You know, like I don't want to get any questions about this. Let me just do my run, and you know, I won't see you again for the rest of my life, I'm sure. Like I've run in, I think, the Qatar airport, Abu Dhabi, you know, on the streets of India, which you know, just running in a foreign country. I mean, even in like other countries, like, you know, just, I haven't spent too much time, but like I did live in London for a little bit, but just running in other countries is always an interesting story. Like you never really know what to expect, but I think, you know, also that allows us to kind of develop like that bravery of just being able to go out and run. You know, it's kind of going towards that feeling of fear, you know, like you don't really know what to expect. You never run on these roads before. It's a completely different country, and just kind of exploring. So I found kind of enjoyment in exploring, you know, different cities. One time I got lost in San Francisco and ended up running like over 20 miles. And I'm like, I saw this. I don't think I'll ever have to come back. I went on a nice little tour. Let's see. I made friends with a homeless man in Maine, because I kept running like the same loop in Maine and kept seeing this like one homeless man. And I ended up like getting him to run. I was working at a running store. We got him some running shoes, and I think he even tried coming to a race. So I even met my former husband on a run. I was just running and some random guy said hi. I said hi back. And, you know, then we met, and, you know, like I've met people on my runs. Let's see. Let's see if there's any, I don't know. I mean, like every day is an adventure, but it's nice to just, you know, run, like maybe my traveling days are over, which I don't really mind. But, I've had definitely running has given me a lot of adventure and an excuse to go out in the world and just kind of like experience like a new city or, but I mean, I don't think recently I've had really any crazy stories, which is probably good.
Did you say you met your husband on a run? So you're running down the road and you say hello. Like, how does it go from there to like? Did he ask you for your number while you're running past, or?
So I was on a run, and some guy was like, "Hi." I was like, "Hi," and then I ended up bringing my dog. I was just finishing my run and ended up bringing my dog on her poop hill to do her business, and that's when we started talking. And
So wait, what was he doing while you were walking? So you go on your run, you go home, and then you walk the dog, and he's still standing down the end of the road, like waiting for you.
Yeah, so he was actually giving up on life at that very moment. So he had like a bad couple days, and he was just like, like, I'm done with life. Just like give me a sign for if, I just need to know what to do with my life or something. And it was like journaling, and then I run by and so yeah, we do talk about, I mean, since then we're not married, but we're still friends, but we still talk about that moment of, it's just funny how kind of like two worlds collide at that one time. And, before on my run, I was actually planning on doing a longer run. And that day I decided, well, I'm just going to do a shorter run today and do this like smaller loop. So, it's funny, like all these little decisions that we make kind of get us to a certain point. Like, I don't know if, this is a deeper discussion, but like we could talk about like parallel universes. If I didn't make a certain decision, I'd be at, a different place in my life, or,
the butterfly effect.
Yeah. So did you literally take him out of that bad moment? He was sitting there going, I don't know what to do in my life. Like, and you helped to take him out of that. Like, did that conversation even start straight away? Like, did he like, when you start talking there in the park, was he like, I'm here journaling because I don't know what to do in my life. Like, I feel like shit. Like, and you were just like, I want to help this guy. Like, you're just like, I'm gonna help him or talk to him or whatever the case was. Like,
I didn't even want to help him. No, I was just doing my run.
Wow, incredible, isn't it? Small things like that happen. And
but later, tell me the story.
Crazy. It's amazing how things like that in life happen.
It's mad. Mm-hmm.
It happen because we're taking action. We're not sitting in doing nothing. We're out in the world, running past people, meeting people. Taking chances. And that's how life happens.
Yeah, you can't hide under a rock. As nice as it sounds. To sit at home, watch Netflix, never engage the mind, or challenge yourself. And that's like the whole thing about Instagram being down yesterday or whatever. It's like just kind of look around. I mean, the whole world is set up for us to be distracted. We watch Netflix, we get distracted scrolling through social media. We, everything we can do it here. We have like DoorDash, people can deliver food, no problem, deliver like whatever you want. It can be delivered today, like Amazon Prime. So where in life do we start challenging ourselves and realize, like, wake up and start, working for ourselves, and, how can we better our own life instead of just, enjoying the conveniences of like modern luxury.
Only because the world is crazy when you think about it. When you look at what we actually do or what people generally do, the world is crazy and what we're doing is crazy. But people will probably look at you and think you're the crazy one. You're out there running and doing your yoga and all. She's crazy. She's running every day for 19 years. But really what we're doing, we're wasting our lives away watching Netflix and stuff like that. Like, we're the crazy ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind being crazy. A little craziness can be good in life. Like, how can we really experience life? Like, we got to put ourselves out there, and whether it is through running or anything, like, just be able to, have new experiences and, connect with other people. And that's why, the positives of social media is being able to connect and share stories like this and, build relationships and everything. So,
like when you're like, indulging in that jogging and like it's something that you love, you almost find your tribe in a way. There's a lot of people out there who are lonely and, they're searching for meaning in their lives, and, they have this passion. But, I think it's important to put yourself in your passion and or find your passion in that way, that you put yourself into these circumstances. Like I'm sure you've met loads of people just by running who are become maybe really good friends with you, and you share so many stories with them, and that's like your tribe now. I think it's very important that we find an almost a tribe or a connection with people, or something that has like we share common ground with people with, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's what Instagram and these other platforms allow us to do, is to be able to help each other essentially. So, I mean, I welcome constructive criticism. I think it's funny, people comment like, you should really stop running every day. So I'm like, oh, you're right. Yeah, I'm just going to give it up. Yeah. Because of that comment.
Yeah.
So it's, but it's been.
There's the guy on the couch with Cheetos and Doritos in his mouth.
Yeah, perhaps, we all kind of have our own. It's like we do have our own beliefs, but at what point do they become like self-limiting beliefs, right? So it's like being able to once again expand our mind, or be able to kind of, if you feel like conflict with this story, it's like asking those hard questions to yourself. Why do I feel conflict with this story? Like I have this self-limiting belief that a day off is good. What if I run a mile every day for 10 days? Like, I wonder what will happen to me. Am I going to generate this positive energy, or are my knees going to hurt, or are my shins, I'm going to get shin splints? It's like, that's why I think that it's so accessible. And, I encourage walking every day, because it's like, I'm not some special unicorn that can run every day. I've definitely ran through injuries, but, I think it's possible for anybody to do a mile run, do a mile walk. You can't run or walk, like sit down, listen to your breathing for 10, 20 minutes. That's essentially like what the run is. So.
You touched on something there that I actually get affected with. You coach running, yeah? So you coach people to run now? Shin splints, exactly what's going to come up. I ran like years ago. I was probably about 6 stone lighter before I ever started lifting weights. Running was my passion. But in the last probably 8 to 10 years, I've stopped running, lifted more weights, and I'm probably 6 or 7 stone heavier than I was then. So when I run now, I could not run 2 kilometers. I'd say if I ran 1 kilometer, I'll be okay, a little bit of pain. But if I ran 2 kilometers, my shins will be locking up to an unbelievable amount of pain. And then the next day it'll just get worse and worse and worse. So if you had someone come on, or have you ever like coached someone that has come on with this issue, and what kind of road would you give them from starting where I am, where it's a lot of pain from 2K in?
Yeah, that's why I think it's such an individualized question. If somebody asks like, how do I prevent shin splints? Well, I'm going to ask you some questions. Okay. So what are your shoes like?
Terrible.
Well, maybe that's step one. So finding some good shoes. What's your foot strike like? Do you land on your heel and then forward? Do you land with your foot up front and then like this? Or do you land with your foot, so like
I'd say heel forward, that kind of flexion, heel to toe.
Yes, and that is not good for shins.
Yeah.
And then you can find shoes. So, finding shoes, like working on your running form, strengthening, your quads, calves, other, like strength training is good. Strength, stretching, foam rolling. But yeah, really, I think, and that's what, what I've learned in the first like 5 years or so of the streak is, well, let's see. Yeah, more like maybe the first decade, I learned how to really perfect my running form. So, watching videos of like Kenyan runners, watching YouTube videos of how coaches, like my favorite coach is Alberto Salazar. He's kind of like also controversial because he definitely demands a lot of mileage out of his athletes, and learning how they train their runners to run, and also how that works for your body. Not all bodies are built the same way. So how can you run that allows your body to be the most like efficient, like as far as like arm movement, if you have like one of these, like your arm like flings back, I mean, that's like a lot of wasted energy.
Yeah.
Learning how to run with like relaxed shoulders, learning how to run with like your feet landing below you, not like out in front, prevents injuries, kind of like having this forward lean. Also, it depends on like what pace you're running, and just kind of learning how to relax while you're running. So I think running form is a big deal if you're, but if you're doing a mile a day, like I think it's fine to, and you also have to like what's comfortable for you to run. So
And
but then you,
from there, like, so you maybe start with what you're comfortable with, and then over time just build slowly. Like, would that be the case for someone like that after, let's say, getting different runners and focusing on where your foot is striking? What would be your advice? The way I'm saying my heel strikes first, where would you be striking midfoot or towards the ball of your below your toes, or where would you be striking the ground with?
yeah, you don't want to like be a toe runner either, trying to land more midfoot. So I see like old pictures of me, like I used to run more heel strike. So learning how to run more midfoot, like this, not like this, midfoot. Yeah. I know listeners can't see what I'm doing, but okay.
It's going on YouTube as well, so they'll see that way.
Yeah. Running, instead of landing with your heel, trying to land more, on your midfoot. And yeah, and then certain shoes. There's also certain shoes that kind of are designed that allow you to run more midfoot, like they have a lower like heel to toe ratio. So like the heel foam isn't built up so much. Sometimes if you get super cushiony shoes, it's like there's so much cushion in the heel that it's like so hard to run on the midfoot.
What will be your favorite type of running shoes? Like people here always just kind of like, oh, Asics or whatever. Like, what would be your favorite kind of running shoes? What would you use?
Brooks.
Well, another long-winded answer. So from, I think, 2002 to about 2010, I wore like a mix between Saucony and Asics, nothing like, just kind of like the generic, always like a neutral shoe, like no stability. I don't really, everybody's different, but I think, neutral shoe is the best, like for me anyway. So then in 2010, Nike came out with these shoes called the Lunar Trainers, and they're actually made with like the same foam that NASA uses. And I was like, these shoes were like made for my feet, and I got like 1,000 miles out of them. And like back then 1,000 miles would be like 3 or 4 months. So, I just went through shoes so quickly. So, I stocked up on those. They actually ended up discontinuing them, probably because, people were getting so much mileage out of them. So I stocked up on the Nike outlet and got enough shoes to last me a decade. And just recently last year, and I even got a half size up just in case, my feet grew.
How many pairs did you buy? So you go into the Nike factory, how many pairs of shoes did you buy?
So the Nike, it was what? So I think maybe they're $100. I got 40% off, and then I had a coupon for 20% off. So I think I got maybe 12 pairs. And so that lasted me a decade because I wasn't running as much. So, and I do have some shoes that I literally wore down. I like could peel the foam off of the shoe. So I definitely got my money's worth. And then, so basically just recently, I believe it was like almost a year ago, my shoes ran out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, I don't know if I want to go back to Nike. And so I have this friend that works at Brooks, and I tried out, like, for some reason, Brooks, obviously I didn't really try any other brands, but I never tried Brooks before. And so I just started running in those. I wear the Brooks Launch. They're kind of like a neutral, kind of lightweight running shoe. So I guess that'll have to be my go-to shoe, because I'm always been very hesitant or scared to try new shoes, because I've had experiences where I try a new shoe and it's like it like ruins my feet. I don't know, like even like wearing shoes, walking around, like I wore these sandals, and like I just get paranoid about injuries. I'm like, oh my gosh, the top of my foot hurts, and it's just because of these shoes I wear during the daytime. So I try to be like as barefoot as much as I can, or wear, like tennis shoes, so just like regular. I try not to like experiment with shoes. Like feet are very important in running and keeping healthy.
Have you ever tried the barefoot toe shoes, like for anything? Obviously, you probably wouldn't do long runs in those, but have you ever tried them or wore them?
Well, I did work at a running store for a few years, so I tried them on, but I couldn't get behind the fact like I'm going to run in these.
Mm.
I don't know. And I've also had my cross country coach made us run barefoot. Like we'd run 8 miles, come back to the football field, and then he'd make us run another mile barefoot. And I developed plantar fasciitis, my first season of cross country. So I've always been very hesitant about running barefoot.
Yeah, that's meant to be a very painful one, very hard to come over that, isn't it?
Yeah, that was not fun. So my trick in that is just to always keep like my foot flexed, like always flex, like keep your calves stretched out, keep your like the fascia of your foot stretched. So, when I was kind of recovering from it, anytime I'd kind of feel like that slight pain, I just be like, flex my foot, like. Yeah. But yeah, that definitely wasn't fun to run with at all.
Lee, I have a feeling are you going to be on day one tonight, are you?
Was it?
You're going to be on day one of your streak tonight.
You know what? I actually used to love running, and this has made me want to start running again.
1 mile.
I think I could do 1 mile.
Every day.
One's day 82, right?
It doesn't even feel like that. It feels like day 2 or 3 because it's so ingrained. It's like putting on my socks. I have my alarm set for 9:30 every night, just in case I don't, like throughout the day, that I don't do the jog, and then 9:30 comes, I didn't do my jog, boom, and I'm gone.
That's a good pro tip. Set an alarm.
The best thing for me that I always felt was just how you feel mentally after the run or on the run and after. Like there will be nothing for me to go now, like I need to go run for my physical benefits or anything. I wouldn't even think about that, but just from talking to you and remembering how good I felt when I used to run has made me want to go. Like, I want to go and run and feel that kind of like, I don't know, the mental state that you feel on the run and how you feel after it. Like I probably want to get into that experience again, do I?
It'll bring you back to the almost, the inner child in you when you played football, Lee, and like when you were like, it'll bring back that, and it's just great. I feel that as well when I'm on it, But,
yeah, and I think that. Yeah. I was gonna say, and that should be like what motivates you. People always ask like how I stay motivated. It's, for one thing, it's like brushing your teeth. Like, okay, you wake up, you brush your teeth, like this is what you do in your day. That's like what running is, and it's good. You set that alarm. Like, I think that's also a good for your mind, just mental health is to set that alarm or something. I had a friend that was at like almost 90 days and he fell asleep. He literally just forgot one day. So it's like, just at knowing you have like a reminder, I think is helpful. And what was I going to say about, I forget.
That alarm saved me a couple of times, like at least probably 7-8 times where I'd be lying in bed after a long day, just 8:30, nearly 9, nearly half asleep, watching something on whatever on Instagram. Then the alarm would go off. Oh shit, didn't do my jog, and then straight away up, boom, and that's when I do the circle of the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Get it in, because it comes to that stage where even if you're on your 30th day, like that's a full month. If you're on your 30th day or your 60th day, it would haunt you if you give it up. And that's what, and then which is me then, like since I moved to Paris, I didn't lift a weight in 4 months, and now because I'm jogging, I'm back in the gym now, I'm eating healthy now. It creates this domino effect of discipline, because before this my discipline was gone, and I would have been a disciplined person, like, and I don't know what it was, everything just went out the window, my whole discipline. And once I got into this, it's a domino effect then to other things in your life.
Last thing I'm going to ask you, right? What is the 3 kind of best things you think you've got from running from day 1 to now? What's the 3 best things, or the 3 like kind of things that's changed in your life or you've benefited from this running streak?
Well, you still look 20.
It helps. Yeah. A daily sweat, daily detoxing. But okay, that's not one of them. I definitely like to go along with what Glenn was saying. I think something so simple as a daily run can help establish discipline in other aspects of your life. Mm-hmm. So it might seem like a lot of discipline at the beginning. Like I think the first 3 months, it's kind of the most difficult to implement something new into your life, like a daily run, and your mind is still kind of battling, like, do I really want to do this? Like, why am I doing this? But after some time, this discipline kind of becomes your life. And that's what and like the yoga shastras, they talk about sadhana, which is just like a practice. So to be able to have kind of this daily practice to connect with yourself, it's no longer like a practice of discipline. It's more just like a practice that you have in your life. But with that being said, other things kind of fall into place, like other things in your life might become more disciplined. You're just like a sense of accomplishment. If you start your day with a run, you start your day on a positive note. You don't like roll out of bed and then you're like late for work and you rush off to work. It's like you have that time for yourself and you accomplish something for you before you begin your day. So I think kind of cultivating that discipline and putting it in other aspects of my life has been beneficial. Let's see. I don't know. So 3. I think I'll. What's that?
Lee loves to put people on the spot.
They're the thing, because you probably don't even notice like what you're doing with the run is probably your second nature to you, but like there probably is. Or I'd like to know, like I would hope that this motivates people to get out there and do a run or do the exercise. So I was just wondering if there's 3 things that have benefited you that might inspire people to go, you know what, I'm going to go and start this today. I want to do this. Like,
yeah, and I think it could be similar for everybody, but we for the most part struggle to find discipline. I mean, like I was saying earlier, the world makes life so easy. Like, when do we put ourselves into difficult situations? So by doing that every day, you're cultivating that discipline in your life, which can kind of affect other things in your life. Self-motivation, so many people, which, I live in my own world, I wasn't really aware of until I was like working like corporate world. Like so many people are not motivated, like, or they need a boss to motivate them, or they need deadlines, or they procrastinate until they're under pressure to reach this deadline. So it's like it cultivates also like that self-motivation, because there's nobody else really holding you accountable but yourself. Like, why am I running every day? I'm not doing it for anybody else. It's not like I have a coach that's telling me to do this, or a boss. It's you have to learn how to be self-motivated and hold yourself accountable, which is important. And let's see, I don't know. And also finding, maybe a third thing would be finding joy and simplicity. Like life doesn't have to be so complicated all the time, or doesn't have to be grandiose. It's like some people, like, they'd ask me, oh, what'd you do for fun this weekend? I'm like, oh, I had a great run. I ran 7 miles, whatever. And they're like, oh, that's fun. I went out to the bars with my friends, and we danced or whatever. And I'm like, if that's fun for you, that's great. But it's like, you don't have to like really please other people to find like joy or happiness or, like contentment. It's, I think the daily run is also has taught me to like find that contentment within myself. It's not like I have to rely on other people. I really don't have to rely on an app. You just like get out and run, experience like nature. If you run outside, and, find that like that happiness within yourself. So, I mean, I think that can come, and not every day, like you're going to feel that way. Some runs are more difficult, but I think it's, even at 82 days, Glenn, like, maybe you've also had some sort of, like, would you say, I'm just trying to think back into my running, like, at what point did like the run kind of start meaning more than just the run? Like, I think there's some sort of tipping point where you realize like, oh, it's not a matter of just getting it in today. It's a matter of like, yeah, finding that like contentment as you're running.
Big one for me, Eliza, is discipline.
Mhm.
I go through periods in life, let's say throughout a year, I'd be like 8 months, be super disciplined with everything, like eating well, going to the gym, stuff like that. And then there's just that 3 to 4 month period when I just slack so much. And then for me, just to do this one thing, just de-jog. And I'm on day 18 now, and I'm thinking, what? Like at the end of this, like 365 days a year. And to me, that's something that like I know I've lacked in discipline. And for me then to achieve something that would be absolutely amazing, like 1 year jogging every day, I think that will, really have such a profound impact on other things in my life. That if I can do that, I can then move on to discipline to other things. So it's just, I know I lack in that area. I know I lack, and I want to change it so much. So, some days it's just like out of the 82 days, I'd say there's around 50 plus days where they've been just 1 mile.
Mm-hmm.
The other days, like it could be a 10K when I feel so loose and, so, I guess loose and injury free and stretched out and stuff like that. But most of the days are just getting the 1 mile in, and it could be 3 miles, 6 miles or whatever, but at least 50 plus days at a 1 mile. And that's all that matters to me. It's the discipline, not the distance.
It'd be interesting to track how you feel while you do these things, because the way you were talking about earlier, kind of escaping from something, or if there's something going on, you go for a run and that moment's to yourself and your own thoughts, and you're kind of getting away from things, and then you can come back and reevaluate what's going on to assess it and write it down. I know you already journal, but like for Glenn, I'm not sure if you do that. If you actually wrote down how you felt every day, and then you might find that you have a stressful day, work is stressful, you're kind of thinking about, I have a load of clients to look after, have to do ABC, and you're stressed about it. And then you go for that run and you come home and you actually feel fresh, and you deal with the clients better, or you deal with the workload better. And then you can look back on that when you're having a bad day, go, do you know what, actually, I felt this way 6 months ago. And you can look back in your journal and go, actually, that run relieved that stress or relieved that anxiety for me. And maybe today I can do that again. Let's go for a 5K run or whatever I done that day, and come back and assess how I feel then. It'll probably be a good thing to look back on and have record of.
Yeah, it's journaling is something I've done for many, many, many years, but I still do it now every day, but not to the extent what I used to do, where I went really deep into my thoughts and stuff like that. It's just more like a gratitude, or a very simple journalistic way of writing. Just, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that, this happened today. But in regards to what Lee's saying there, yeah, it'd be fantastic to say, like, set out my jog today, was really under pressure from clients, or as recently my uncle passed away and stuff like that, and I was in Dublin for 3 weeks, and just being there, I never thought I would have. I thought I'd probably miss a day, but I didn't, and it relieved me to clear my head and go on my jog, where I've been in a family household of all of us are grieving, crying, and then I get out on my jog with myself on my own and expressed sadness in my own way, and spoke to him the way I spoke to him. It's those like that, like when in poems, when things get rough and stuff like that. And when I come back from the jog, went home, showered, and then come back over to the house where all my family were grieving, I was revigorated. I was like more clear-headed, and I wasn't stuck in this emotional pattern of like sadness. I expressed it in a way through a couple of tears, and also releasing the tension from your body. There's nothing better than a run, I'm telling you. There's just not. So yeah,
and I think and we all have that sort of experience, and other streak runners I've spoken with too. It's a way to remove yourself from that situation, so you can come back and maybe handle it a little bit better, or connect. It's that time to connect with your thoughts, connect with your emotions. And in my experience, I've had that similar type of experience as well.
Yeah, so maybe I should start journaling about that, like, felt overwhelmed with the family and the grieving, and went out on a jog, and then come back in 6 months, you're in a difficult situation again. You open up the book and there you are, you've overcome it, you know what to do, and then you go ahead and tackle it again.
Can help you to help others as well, especially with your other page. Like, you can tell people, I had this stressful day and I was worried about work and blah, blah, blah. And a 2K run helped me. I felt fresh. I felt rejuvenated after that run, and then maybe they can look at it and go, you know, I'll try this. I might go for a run, see how I feel after it, and maybe they'll feel better too. Like, you know,
All the running, Lee. All the
yeah,
clients I have are running.
yeah,
Some of them are doing 1K, some are doing 3K. And these are people that struggle with agoraphobia, where they're afraid to like leave the comfort of their homes, and they're afraid of you know, having heart attacks because of panic. Or they're afraid of panic attacks might give them heart attacks and stuff like that. And here they are going on runs, which is then showing the mind that your body's okay, it's healthy. If I'm able to run, and that's just such a powerful
confidence for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And they'll grow on that, and sometimes maybe a 10K mark. But for now, I'll just say it's a discipline. You have a time to get up in the morning. Everyone has a set time, whether it's between 8 and 9 a.m. They get up, they put their runners on, they don't lie in bed and ruminate, and they go out and run between 1 to 3K. And they're already seeing great results. And sometimes they come back, oh, I can't believe I jogged 6K. And that's just incredible.
Yeah, and I think that's why I've had in the past, or like 30-day run challenge or something, or run or walk challenge, or even starting with 10 days, you know, just try to do 1 mile every day for 10 days. Just, you know, probably like you probably you got through 10 days. Like what I've kind of noticed is to get through like a full week, Monday through Sunday, because like, okay, work week is great, but once you get to the weekends, like, oh great, like, you know, I'm not on my routine anymore, how do I fit it in? So being able to get through like that 7 days kind of shows, okay, you can do it for a full week. But I've noticed, you know, that's where people also fall off, is like around 8 to 10 days. If you make it through the 10 days, you know, maybe your next goal is like a full month, and then, you know, from 30 days, you know, work up to like 100 days. So you know, just kind of like doing like little stepping stones. And yeah, and I like to tell people, you know, you can do a walk as well, because you know, I think essentially it's the same thing. And, you know, you never have to do more than 1 mile, you know. It's like, just get out for 1 mile, you know, commit to that. And, you know, it's not like you ever have to do more than that.
Yeah, it's super powerful. Honestly, I don't want to give it up, you know. I want to get to that 1 year and see how it feels like, because discipline was a big issue. I had a big issue for discipline, like, really did. It always frustrated me how it'd be so consistent in the gym for 6 or 7 months, and then out of nowhere, you know, I used to be googling like burnout and stuff like that, and thought I had burnout, and because I just couldn't get my head around it. But it was just discipline. That's all it was, just discipline.
Well, doing this in 19 years, Glenn, talking about your 19-year streak.
Yeah, I think I burn out now, you know.
I'm just happy to get the 1 year out of the way, and then I'll take it from there. 365 days will be absolutely incredible for me. Yeah. But anyway,
Well,
Eliza, listen, we're on nearly an hour and 30 minutes you spent with us, and I'm absolutely delighted that we could have you on. I really enjoyed that. I knew it was going to be fantastic. And, you know, we've a lot of Irish followers on our podcast. And I hope now when I go back to Dublin in a few weeks, I'm going to see around hundreds of people jogging along the coast. What day are you on now? What day are you on now?
Yeah.
Lee, you're going to be one of them.
I'll be one of them, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm very grateful to have you on, Eliza. I think it's going to be, you're going to inspire a lot. You really are, and you already do. It's just a great thing. Like 19 years, and like jogging with like pregnancy and in airports and all. It's fascinating, and we're very grateful to have you on.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me on. And, you know, I think the big thing is like taking 1 day at a time, which is so true for anything. So like, that's what, you know, essentially that run streak is being able to take 1 day at a time. And yeah, and now you're at almost 100 days. We'll have to do some sort of celebration with a run.
On day 365, you come to Paris and we jog on my last day.
You can jog in Charles de Gaulle.
Yeah, we'll do a short run at home.
Eliza, we're going to finish up now. I know a lot of people are going to want to follow you on Instagram and stuff like that, and I really think that they should, because when they see the reels and the videos, and you know, the happiness on your face and how you look, how fresh you look, how happy you look, how the stories you have from your reels and stuff like that, it's very inspiring, and I think a lot of people will actually pick up this habit. So where can people find you? What is your Instagram name?
Yeah, it's called Daily Run with Za.
Anywhere else
And
people can find it? Probably the Instagram would be the best, right?
yeah, Instagram's the best. And yeah, I mean, the reels are just kind of just funny thing. Like, I mean, you know how it is, but you know, I'm excited to kind of dive into more of like philosophy about the run streak. You know, obviously it's not all fun and games, but it's like edutainment, you know, trying to entertain but still providing a little bit of education there. You know, with a hint of self-deprecation, you know, that's always good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so yeah, I appreciate your time and all your questions and everything, and it's been fun, yeah, talking about running and everything else. So wish you the best on your ventures as well.
Yeah, you too. We'll be in touch anyway. We'll keep in touch, and I'll keep, when I get to day 100 and all my milestones, I've been messaging you like, I can't believe I'm on day 32 today. I can't believe I'm on,
Yeah.
so we'll be getting plenty of them anyway, Eliza. We'll keep in touch. Lee, anything you want to finish on?
No, just thanks again for coming on. It's been great to learn, and it's probably inspired me to get back running again. So I've benefited from it, and I know other people will. So thanks again for coming and helping us and trying to help others.
Yeah, well, great. Yeah, keep in touch as well, and yeah, we look forward to when you're on day 82.
Yeah, I'll catch Glenn sometime.
Yeah.
Brilliantly.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Nice.
you have a great day. Enjoy whatever you're doing and relax now after your jog and your podcast. And yeah, thanks so much again. It's been a pleasure.
Yep, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Bye. Take care.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.